G'day gamers, my name is Grant and this is Gamer Kiwi TV. I'm very happy to see you and I hope you are happy to see me. In this video I'm going to ask the questions: what do video games do to your mental health? And do they do anything to your anxiety or depression? Before we get into it, if you want to discuss anything with me to do with this video, any questions, any comments, anything like that at all, just flick a comment down below. I'm also live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 9 AM Auckland Pacific time, that is New Zealand time, so make sure you catch me there if you want to catch up with me and discuss. Pop in for a chat, we'll have a lot of fun. Anyway, let's do it. Now, first of all, I want to make it very clear that I'm not a mental health expert. I just want to be able to share my experiences with mental health problems and how video games really helped me come to terms with some of the issues that I had. And I really just want to, again, show what my experiences were and how I hope they might be able to help you address whatever issues you may be having as well. I played a lot of RPGs growing up, mainly Morrowind stuff when that came out around about 2002. I had a lot of fun with that. And then after Morrowind, I put an embarrassing amount of time in Oblivion. In fact, my parents got a copy of Oblivion, took it to a PC shop and said to the guy, make a PC that can run this. And pretty much the rest is history. I also spent a lot of time in the modding community, again mainly around Morrowind, Oblivion, and then Fallout 3 and then Fallout New Vegas. But by this time I was approaching my sort of mid to late teens. You know, you start developing love interests, you're leaving school, you're looking for jobs, you may already be working, and you know, all that horrible stuff. And looking back at that, I don't think I coped with that particularly well. I started developing quite crippling anxiety issues, which then developed over time into more depression related problems. And some of these issues still affect me to some extent even today. So I guess because I wasn't able to deal very well with psychologists and counsellors and the more professional types, because I left it so long, I guess it bottled up a bit, and that anxiety that I was feeling slowly mutated around into more depressive tendencies. So because I allowed these problems to mutate within myself, I developed more tendencies, more self-destructive tendencies, such as self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, and very much in a party mindset. I did get to the stage where, because I was working around about this time, I was in very much of a, if I'm not working, I'm partying mindset. And I could probably make an entire other video about this, but I'll say it now, that does not work. In fact, it makes things worse, because that mutation that is happening inside of you and inside your mind with your mental health, it just builds it up, and just makes things far worse for you in the long run. So self-medicating, especially with drugs and alcohol, it doesn't work. It is a short-term fix for one night, and then it all wears off. You go through your withdrawal symptoms and it just makes everything 10 times worse. So trust me, don't do that. So I realised that about this time, it probably sounds like that I'm actually blaming video games for all this, but it's actually the complete opposite. Because at around about this time of my self-medicating, I was having problems with work, I was having problems with my relationships, and looking back, I realised that it was me trying to fix myself via self-medication that was actually causing those problems. And I wasn't playing video games at all, because as I just said, I was either working or I was partying, and it just doesn't work. So about 2 years ago, my then ex-girlfriend, well, my now ex-girlfriend, she was my girlfriend then, we broke up, and I got another job and I moved to another town. And that job, the specific hours that I was working doing that job, it didn't allow for my partying mentalities, because it was primarily a night shift, a graveyard shift job. So it didn't allow for me to party as often as I was with alcohol and drugs and all that stuff. So that gave me the time to pick up video games again, because I was working all night, I was coming home, and basically around about the time that I was finishing work, everyone was sort of getting up and going to work. I didn't really have anything to do, so I spent a lot of time watching TV and picking up video games again. So the problem with spending so long self-medicating to deal with any of these mental health issues is that when you stop, it makes things worse. It's like a long-term withdrawal. And I got really quite bad. This is where video games reared its head again. And I found that when I was going through these, what I'll call the withdrawal periods, I found that immersing myself in the worlds of video games, it really helped me just fill that void that I felt was missing within myself. And it really helped just being immersed in a world. And funnily enough, this is actually where The Witcher 3 came in. I bought that on release and I played it for a bit, and this was pretty much right in the middle of my self-destructive period. And I played it for a little bit, sort of got bored, probably went out to party and put it back down. I picked it back up around about 2017. And basically my whole mindset went from, if I'm not working, I'm partying, to if I'm not working, I'm playing The Witcher 3. That game provided everything that I pretty much desired to take my mind off everything that was going on within my own mind. And I can't express how much it really did help me. And then basically when I played the hell out of that, I moved on to other games. And that's 4 years later, and I'm still going hard. And I'm telling you that my mental health, the state of my mind, has probably not been in a better place, except probably when I was a young child. And it probably also helps that I got into another relationship that wasn't based off my self-medication and my own toxic behaviour towards myself. So I suppose that probably plays a pretty decent part as well. Yeah. But, she's very, very supportive of me, and she was actually one of the main inspirations for me to sort of put this video out and talk about how I've been able to alter my mind using video games. And it's an interesting topic because there's a lot of negative stuff that a lot of people talk about when it comes to mental health and video games. And I guess I just wanted to pop into the YouTube community just to say, look, I'm a living example of somebody who was quite deep in the rut, and video games help elevate me. And I guess all I'm saying is that it can help some people. It won't help everybody, but I think that there needs to be someone to say, look, video games aren't all bad, because they're not. And I realise that the way that I've been talking about video games probably sounds like I've just taken one problem, being self-medicating with toxic things like drugs and alcohol, and replacing it with another form of self-medication, which are video games. And that's something that I'm going to go into now. But I do want to point out that there might be a few people that will watch this that will think, all you're doing is taking one bad thing and replacing it with another. But we really need to ask yourself, are video games really worse than risking overdosing on horrific drugs? Are they worth overdosing on alcohol? Are they worth doing something extremely silly and actually hurting or killing yourself or somebody else while being intoxicated? Not really. Not when you've got something like video games that aren't as toxic and can still help you. And now we took a look at the more serious stuff, statistics. So I think a lot of certain political people or parties really fail to observe the obvious when it comes to video games and mental health, which is they affect everybody differently. Although this blog, it mainly relates to video game addiction within children, minors, and that's not really what I'm talking about today, although it is an important issue and it's something that I am actually planning to bring out, and I decided I wanted to talk about that while I was researching statistics for this video, because it is something I want to touch on. But that particular blog, it mainly relates to these kids who aren't really in a position to understand what addiction really is, and they freak out into violent tendencies and break things, and you know, when that game is taken off of them, and you know, they have issues forming healthy relationships and all that sort of stuff. So that's probably something I'll talk about in the next video, but for now we're going to stay strictly with the stuff I've already been talking about with people that are fully developed and people who've been struggling with mental health as a issue for a long time, and we're just going to move on with that. Although that Firelands blog does have a quote which I wholeheartedly agree with, and it goes like this: simply enjoying video games and playing them on and off, or getting easily caught up in video games for hours on end, but eventually turning it off and returning to other activities, may not signify gaming disorder or video game addiction, according to the World Health Organization. It's when the technology starts interfering with personal, family, or social health that it can officially become a problem that leads to other negative consequences. So again, this particular video isn't really focused at those people. This video is more focused on people who have got mental health issues that they want to relieve without having to turn to prescription drugs or seeking professional help. Although I do suggest that if that's what you feel like you need. I don't feel like I did. This video is more about the simple fact of being able to turn off your life for 2-3 hours a day and just being able to immerse yourself into another world. So you're essentially turning your life off for a couple of hours and turning another one on. And then after a couple of hours, flicking that switch and getting right back on with your own life. WebMD has an article, and in that article it says this: the truth is that video games have many benefits, including developing complex problem-solving skills and promoting social interaction through online gaming. Video games can be a great way to stimulate your mind and improve your mental health. So these are the points that I want to focus on. Although I'm not much of an online gamer, I very much prefer single player games, and I feel like that these points can really apply to single player games as well. Inverse.com also had an article, and in that one it says this: if players experiencing intrinsic motivations and need satisfaction during play, we would expect a more positive relationship between playtime and well-being compared to other players who experience less intrinsic motivation and need satisfaction during play. For example, if users felt outside pressure to play, they might not experience the same positive results. So what I take out of that is, when people are playing multiplayer games, that outside pressure, i.e. other players, pressuring you into making decisions or being a better player, can cause some of those problems. But again, and as I've already said during this video, and I'm probably going to say again because that's what the script's telling me to say, is all people are different and they respond to everything differently. And because of that, most of the statistics that I found didn't really give us any concrete answers or numbers. Again, it came down to the everybody is different answer. So I came up with these questions. Do you have a reason to game other than the pure enjoyment for the art, and is it a negative reason? And if the answer to this question is yes, then do video games help to alleviate that negative reason, i.e. do they help you? And if the answer to that question is yes, then well done. Congratulations, you have found a way for you to open yourself up and make yourself feel better. And I congratulate you for that. Keep it up. Because regardless of what the statistics or the numbers say, they don't really matter because they've helped you. However, if your answer to that original question is no, video games aren't helping you with your mental health issues, then I would suggest asking yourself the question, what will help you? And if you can't think of anything that you know would help alleviate that negative pressure on your mental health, I would suggest going to talk to somebody. And that can be anyone. That can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be me. I would love for you guys to reach out to me, email me, hit me up on the comment section, hit me up on the live chat. If you feel comfortable doing that, I would love to have this discussion with you guys. I'd absolutely love it. So what concrete answers did we get out of all this? And the answer to that is not a lot really, because there are differing studies and there are differing statistics, and I know I've already said it in this video, but it really just comes down to you and what you want and what can help alleviate your mental health. And if video games is that, then more power to you. Do what I did. Spend some time immersing yourself in a world, and as I just said before, pop into the chat, leave a like on this video, because so we can tackle that ever elusive YouTube algorithm. Get this video out to the masses so we can have a discussion. And again, by all means, if you feel comfortable and you want to talk to me about things, pop into my live chat. At this stage, it's every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Auckland Pacific time, that's New Zealand time. And pop into the chat, have a yarn. I'll open the chat up, we'll talk about stuff for a bit, and then once that slows down, we'll turn on a video game and we can hang out and we can discuss that. So that's about it for me, and I hope you'll slide into my next one. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.